Hello. So, welcome to Elemental Coaching. This is the recording for Intention and Ritual, which is our first actual group. This is where we start. This is January. And so, just a little brief intro to Elemental Coaching, as always. So, I started this group because I'm an intuitive coach. I also have a spiritual practice. I do a lot of work with the elements. And so when I was thinking of putting together a coaching program, um, the main things that I was thinking about was how we could really get in touch with our own sense of power, and how we can use the energies around us, because that's what I do in my private practice, right? Is I'm the one that's usually checking into the energy. I'm the one that's holding the space. And then I have a private client who is asking a question or looking for guidance in whatever part of their life. And I'm working with them to pull and guide them through whatever that issue may be. So I'm the one that's doing most of the work. And so my intention for starting a group coaching program was that you would learn a little bit about my spiritual and energetic practice, but mainly what I want is that you learn what your interests are, what your powers are, what you can use as the energies and the elements for your empowerment and for your self-discovery. So my goal is to give you a little taste on some of these ideas and themes, and to talk about some of my practices, but not all of them, because I really feel that it's important that you try things on and figure out what feels right for you. So a big part of my practice is the earth, the universe, but the elements of the earth. And so when I say elements, I'm talking about, my cat is going crazy because every time I do energy work, my cat is like here on top of me. So here we are. I feel like she's very excited. So the elements are what you would think, the elements of nature. So we have water, we have fire, we have earth, obviously, air, and water. Those are the main elements that we talk about. Now, it is very interesting to me because in China, I don't study Chinese medicine, but it is a part of the practice, the yoga practice that I go to. And so in Chinese medicine, there's 5 elements actually. There's earth, there's water, there's fire, I'm going to forget. So wait, earth, water, fire, and metal. And I am forgetting one. It's different than ours. So wood. That's the one I always forget, because we don't have a wood element when we talk about esoteric stuff. And, I'm going to talk a little bit about witchcraft and the reason, and I do say that I'm a witch sometimes, and sometimes I don't, because the word witch is really one of those interesting things, and I did a whole video on it already, so you can look at that. But when we talk about witchcraft, using the elements to me is really the base of it, because without this connection or this creation, this co-creation with the elements around us, I don't feel that there's really any basis to witchcraft. But again, these are my beliefs, because this is also my own lineage, and this is what I have learned for myself. So this is what I'm going to teach, because this is the part that is me. So there are many different types of spiritual practices. There are many different types of witchcraft practices. There are many types of religious practices. And so each one of them is going to use a little bit, the flavor is always a little bit different. So I'm just speaking to mine. And I use the elements a lot because I work a lot with the earth. So I do work with fire, water, air, and earth a lot. And then I also work with the universe, and I also, work with guides and all the other things. But when we're talking about the basis. It's always the elements. So that's, kind of where the elemental coaching part came in. So we're going to get started. That was a huge introduction that I'll probably cut most of it out. I don't know. But here we are. So this is again, January. Happy New Year. Here we are, 2024. And we're going to start off the elemental coaching with intention and ritual. And there were many different ways I could have started this group. And this is the one that kept coming to me because it kind of encapsulates a lot of the themes and the ideas that you need as a base to moving into energy work. So we're going to start with those two themes. The way this is going to work is I am going to talk about those two themes using some, history and different emotional things that might attach to intention and ritual. And then when you come into the actual live class, we're going to take it a step further because we're going to be doing a creative project of sorts where we're going to take what this video sort of teaches us as a foundation, and then we're going to put it into our own practice and go through some journal prompts and go through a creative exercise so that you can really envision it for yourself and try it on. And from there, you'll probably have some questions. We're also then going to take that into an intentional ritual breathwork practice. So you'll see how I use both of these elements in the breathwork practice when that starts. And so the live class, you'll also get a chance to ask me questions. And if there's anything that's coming up for you through this video or through just, your own experiences with intention and ritual, the live session is going to give you the opportunity to ask those questions. So bring them with you, but here's the intro to intention and ritual. So what we're going to do first, I am going to start, I have my cup of tea. So if you need something to get cozy with, get your cup of tea, set your space, right? Because we already are starting. So when it comes to intention and ritual, it is a little bit about setting the space. Okay. So I have my tea that I love that keeps me grounded. And it's like a green tea. It's not matcha, but it's a green tea. I also have a candle that I use for my practice. It is a candle I made, and it's the color purple. The color purple usually is helps to set any kind of intuitive, or it's really one of those colors that I feel like is all encompassing when it comes to spiritual practices. So it also is, obviously the chakra for the crown chakra. So anyway, I'm going to set my candle, and usually you shouldn't blow out the matches. You can blow out your matches, but you shouldn't blow out your candles. All of these things we're going to talk about. Okay, so this is the base. So I set my space, right? So just so you know, other things that I've done already, I've cleared my space. I actually cleaned my space. I cleaned my body, and now I'm setting my space. So all of these things are very intentional in doing this practice. So we're going to start with just a brief meditation just to really get settled and grounded into what we're doing right now. So you can have your eyes open, you can have your eyes closed. My eyes are going to be closed because it's always easier for me to drop in. And so just taking a breath and feeling into where your body is and allowing yourself to just take a sense of it. Don't change it, don't fix it, just drop into it. So your physical presence. Breathe in, feeling the air as it comes in. Breathe out, feeling the air as it goes out. And then see if you can breathe in through your nose for 4 counts. And then hold your breath. Feel that in your body. And then release for 4 counts. And do it again. So we're going to inhale through the nose. Holding the breath for 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. for 4, 3, 2, 1, and one more time. Breathing in, hold, breathing out. And then just allowing your body to continue to settle here, feeling your feet connecting you to the earth, feeling your sit bones grounding you down, finding your anchor here in this space, on this planet, at this time. Allowing your spine to settle, but also to grow taller so that we know that we can grow upward through the top of the head, the crown of the head, like a little string pulling us up into the universe. And as we connect up into the universe, allowing the universal energy to connect into our space. So we welcome it in. And so allowing yourself to ground down and also grow up, reach up and connect up. Breathe that in. And then coming back into this moment, this time, here in this now. And you can open your eyes. Okay, so here we are. So when I talk about intention, I do have notes as always, but when I talk about intention, it's really that. It is being intentional, being focused. So when we are doing or acting in an intentional way, we are working from a very conscious, focused place. So you could, wash your hands or do the dishes or go to the gym or go to work, and you don't really remember those things. But if you intentionally do them, there is more likelihood that you would remember them because the energy has shifted, right? So January is really this time of new beginnings, and a lot of people love to set goals, resolutions. And for me, I do that. I love new beginnings. I love setting goals. I mean, I'm a goal-oriented person. It helps me, sometimes too much. And so when I think about January, I think about, yes, what is it that, what is this new month going to bring me? What is this new year going to bring me? But it's a time of letting things go. And so I think when we start to approach January or this new year or this new time, right? Like any new day with a place of intention and intentionality, it already changes the energy to a place of not just making a list of the things that we want or the goals that we want to achieve, but allowing our energy to connect inward, and we drop into it. And so all of a sudden, things have changed and the energy shifts to a place of now we are actually accountable and co-creating with it. We are intentionally choosing to achieve certain goals or to bring things into our life, right? So instead of just going shopping and buying the cheapest thing, now we're intentionally looking around to figure out quality or what we really want, and then how and what we want to bring into our life, and what that is going to be like in an energy. So when I think of intention, it kind of takes a normal activity or a normal act or a normal thing and makes it magical, because it sort of infuses it with energy, and it not just any energy, but your energy. And that is any magical practice, is really how you infuse your energy with the thing or the act is what makes it magical. It's not just the act of doing, is the intention behind it or in the process. So that's why I really was thinking like January would be a great time to start this theme of intentionality and ritual. Now, when we think about, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about, the coaching program and witchcraft, because this is our first group. And so I feel like let's start it out great. So when we think about witchcraft, like I said, I've already done a video on this. I feel like we all can claim that word of witch, because witch really is this word that was given almost like a derogatory thing, like if you must have done something bad, or you did something evil to somebody or whatever. I mean, it was reclaimed by the I feel like the women's movement in the 60s and the 70s. But when we think about witchcraft now, we think about this power or empowerment, right? And so when we're thinking about empowerment as a source of witchcraft, it really fit in with the coaching program, because I want people who are coming in to work with me or to study or to learn from me, I want them to leave with a sense of not my words and my things, like they get a check and they did it right and they got an A+. I want them to leave with a sense of empowerment, that they can trust themselves, that they know themselves, that I just gave myself a thumbs up. Well, that's good. On the right path. I don't know why it does that sometimes. Anyway, so when we think of witchcraft as a place of empowerment, I also think of it like it allows you to connect so deep to yourself, because you have to feel, like I said, with this intention, you have to feel into what it is you want and why, and the feeling state of that, and then your energy, and then you're working with elements, and you're infusing the two together to create something new. It is art in its way of like this creation. And so in order for that to really happen and to be in this place of intentionality, we have to work through our limited beliefs. And this is where some of the coaching stuff comes in, because when we carry false beliefs, both that we have learned from our own families or childhood or friend groups or whatever, we also are carrying ancestral beliefs or societal beliefs, right? So we have to unlearn the beliefs that don't serve us. And so when we are just going along day to day to day to day, following the rules, or doing what is expected of us, we're not intentional about our movements, about our practices. And so the beautiful thing about witchcraft is it really peels you into a place where you start to learn about your own energy, and your own self, and what your power is, and what you can bring that to the world. So one of the false beliefs about witchcraft is that everybody has the same abilities, and that, like, if I say I'm a witch, then I also can, yes, I have a cat, but that I could read tarot, that I can do, that I'm psychic, and that I make spells, and that I sing under the moon, or all of these things. And the truth is, that's not what, in my mind, that's not what witchcraft is about, because there's so many different ways to practice. The core of all is that you are intentional in knowing who you are, knowing what you want to bring into the world, and then having a practice where each time you do a practice, you're sort of peeling back that layer, and you're learning even more about yourself, so that everything comes from this place of connection and love, right? So, not to make it all love and light, but it really is about your own sense of self-love and your sense of power. And so everything that I am attracted to in witchcraft is really because it is about connecting outside of yourself to the elements, and connecting inside yourself to your power. And you do feel powerful, but not in a way that you're going to control others, but in a way that you are just going to use that light and that power to better the world around you. And so for me, that's what it's all about. And I feel that that is just also what I bring to my coaching practice. So it felt like a great blend. And so this all has to do with how we feel into the things that we want, and then we create intentional rituals to bring them into being. Okay, so I'm going to go into some of the more, getting clear on this idea. I tend to talk in circles, so I'm going to actually try to focus. Okay. So, as I said, I'm just seeing if there's anything that I haven't said that I should say. Um, so as I said, an intention is really just this process of becoming very clear and direct in how we communicate um, and focus our desire, right? So like I said, an easy one to think about is when you're doing the dishes, there could be this energy or this thought form around discussed, like, I can't believe I have to do the dishes and I'm always doing the dishes and nobody else does the dishes. And then all of a sudden the energy goes into like such a deep place of, it's not just about doing the dishes. Now it's about you not being seen, or you always cleaning up after other people, or, you not getting to play, or whatever it is for you, right? All of a sudden your intention has flipped from the act of doing dishes to the act of being overseen and overlooked and ignored and abused or cast out or whatever it is. So when we are more intentional with just the act of doing dishes, you could look at it from a place of like, okay, this is what's going to happen, and it's going to happen at 6 o'clock. And I'm going to do the dishes, and I'm going to start to feel the water on my hands, and I'm going to intentionally bathe each of these plates in light and love. And so I'm going to infuse the dishes with the act of, joy and thanks and gratitude for having had another meal, and cleansing it off so that they're ready for whoever touches it next is going to have a beautiful day. I don't know. You could do all those things, or you could just enjoy doing the dishes, because sometimes it can be very meditative. So it is really the idea of taking a belief state and infusing it and focusing that energy into the act that you're going to do, right? Or the act of creating something new. So when we think of it in this way, that's why I was talking about the belief states, because it's really important to clear out any false beliefs or any beliefs that would need to be unlearned. Because if we're carrying those with us as if they are a part of us, then we may infuse something with an intention that isn't actually connected to who we truly are, what we want in the world, and it gets a little confusing. So throughout my coaching program, I will continue to be talking about releasing and working through those false beliefs, as I like to call them, so that we can get really true to our own energy. So when we're intentional, we're calling upon our intention with the universe. And so as we call in our intention, we can then connect into the universal energy to focus it into what we want. So if we're very clear, which is what the intention is, it's about getting clear. So now when I say, I want somebody to do my dishes, I can be very clear in saying that, say, I would love for somebody, I just, not even that, like just being very intentional about, I need help. I need somebody who's going to support me. So I would like somebody to be here supporting me, so I'm not doing this all by myself, but I feel really supported. So even when I'm doing the dishes, maybe I'm sharing that with a partner or sharing that in laughter with somebody else. So I want to intentionally call in that I'm not going to be doing these dishes by myself, but I'm going to be sharing the joy. I'm going to be enjoy doing them with somebody else. I mean, you can change any activity to something with a wonderful intention, right? And I'm not saying every act that we have isn't good. It can be, you can infuse anything, but you have to really clear your mind and pull in what it is you want. So intention is really that, like, how and what do I want? Okay. So when we are going to set intention, it's really important that we are in a very focused, grounded place. Because like I said before, the energy that we have in our internal state is the energy that we put forward. So if our energy feels off because it's cluttered with like false beliefs, or we don't know who we are, we don't know what we want, I don't know what my energy is, I'm picking up energy from everywhere and everything, right? If all of these things are happening, then that's what I'm bringing into whatever it is I'm creating. And so we want to be very clear and grounded before we set any intentions into the universe. And so to start with that brief little meditation that I did in the beginning is a great way to just ground down, right? We're calling in, we're dropping into the earth, we're reaching up, we're connecting to the universal energy, and we are in the middle, and we are very in our physical body, and we know where we are, right? So it's very much a clear slate. I know my energy, I know what I want, and then I'm going to set my intention. So that's clearing out is really important to do beforehand. Okay. And then you want to know what you want, and you want to come from a grounded place, and then you want to choose your words or your thoughts carefully. So it's important to know what it is you're calling in before you call it in. Unless you've been doing this for a long time and you're always in a grounded place, which some people are. But if you're starting out, or you're still working through your truth and your ability to feel and into your truth and your energy, then it's very, you might want to write this out first, right? Like that's why we were talking about the vision board. So this is where some of that vision board comes in, because if you have the vision board, it gives you a visual of what you're calling in. So with the vision board activity, I had asked you to choose one of the desires. So you made a list of all the things that you wanted, all the desires that you have, all the things you're trying to manifest for yourself in 2024. But then you're choosing the one, and that one desire is the one you made a vision board about. Maybe you have many different vision boards. So when you have that one vision board, it gives you clarity. So now you have a clear intention. I know what I want. I know how I want to feel when I have it. I know the environment that it's going to be in. I know how I'm going to be supported by the universe. I know how I'm going to be supportive and supported in the world, right? All of those things give you so much clarity. So now is a perfect time to take all that clarity and then create words for your intention. And that's when I said to have the affirmation. Well, this is where you're sort of creating your own affirmation, because your words are speaking out into the universe in a very clear and positive way what it is you are looking to co-create with them. Not just receive, but to co-create. You are in power of making this happen for yourself. So intention around that is going to be those clear, precise words. So I know a lot of people either work with love or money. Those are the big things. Those are our human experiences. It's like feeling safe, right? So when it comes to intentionality, and I think I did both of those as vision boards in the examples. So if you were doing love, right, it's a big one. And you feel into what it feels like to be in relationship with somebody, and you know your environment, you know the world, you know all the things that you're asking for from the universe and how supportive it's all going to be. The words around the intention are going to be something very clear, and you would write them out maybe first until it gets clearer and clearer and clearer. And then it may be something like, I in 2024 am going to call in the best partner for me that is going to help me to feel secure in this world, that we can do it together, that we can co-create together, that we can laugh, that we can dance, that we can enjoy life and experiences as we continue on through our journey together on this planet and in this lifetime, right? So that is a very clear intention. And it doesn't even have to be all those words. You might want to just keep narrowing it down until it really feels like it hits something in your energetics field, right? So this is how we get very intentional about the words that we are using to cast into being, or to manifest, or to do a spell, right? We have to be very intentional about the words. Now, in spell work, this is all part of spell work, but one of the other parts of spell work is when they're creating intentional words. A lot of times you'll find that they rhyme because it's easy to remember, because one of the things you want to do is you want to do it over time, and that's when we come into ritual. So when it comes to spell work wording, a lot of times they'll just break it down into an easy rhyme that's is very memorable, so that it's very easy to do over and over and over, and it flows out, and it has a certain rhythm that matches the energy in your state of being, right? So All of these things are, it's not important, but it's just easier because you want to create a flow of energy. So when you then have this intention and now you have the wording, right? Now you can move this into ritual. So the ritual part is the repetition. This is the part that you do over time. So ritual is a very interesting and interesting thing, because rituals are, it's not just habits. It's not just the things that we do on a day-to-day basis. It's the things that we do with sacred intention. That's how I like to put it. So rituals have been here forever. I don't know that there was a time in history that we didn't have rituals. In the past, if we look into ancient practices, rituals were used, I believe, if I remember correctly from one of my art history courses, rituals were used at a time when people felt that they needed sort of a leg up. Times were tough, going out to catch your own food, always a chance of death happening around every corner. And so there was this idea that if they matched their energies with a spiritual universal being and did a ritual practice for that being, that they would be able to get some kind of power that would help them in their hunts or help them to survive, right? So this is one of those, it's very similar to what we're doing, is like we're asking for help from something. So there does have to be a connection, a co-creation, an exchange. And so that's kind of where the ritual comes in. And that's why I say ritual is more of a sacred practice, because if you're asking for help or co-creation from spiritual or universal energy, there has to be an equal amount of creation on your end. You cannot just do something and expect to receive. You may in fact receive. There are people that manifest without doing much, but it's about the lasting effects of it. And I would say the ethical effects of it, because I do feel that when you're starting to move into witchcraft as a spiritual practice or a sacred practice, you do have to take into consideration that you're just not a passive standby person who's just getting a lot of stuff. You are receiving in exchange for what you're giving out. And it's just this even flow of energy exchange, or, in some cases, like an actual physical exchange where maybe you're going to bring things into the earth, like you're going to give water out to the plants, or you're going to bring nourishment to the gardens, or whatever that, whatever element you're asking for help is what you're going to be doing the exchange with. That gets into a little bit more specifics that I'm not going to go into today, because we're just going to stay really clear. So when it comes to ritual, you want to create a sacred practice. And so once you have your intention, we started with the desire with the vision board, you know what you're trying to call in. Now you have an intention, you break it down into your words, you keep it short and sweet. We're going to now move that into what are you going to do on a day-to-day over time to continue to work the energy to bring this into your life. So the way that you can, there's so many different ways that you can do this. I always like to think about a ritual as you're setting your space, right? This is where you're going to show up even when you don't want to. This is where you're going to take your candle at exactly 7:30 every evening, or 7:30 every morning, or whatever time it is that you set. And you're going to take your candle and you're going to maybe you're going to create an altar space, which literally could be a plate. It doesn't have to be like an altar. It could be a movable tray. There's so many different ways you can do altars. But we're going to do one. We're going to do one in our group, so don't worry. But this is where you're going to take your whatever, and you're going to sit with it, and you're going to work with it every day at the same time for the same amount of time. So I would say, let's say 7:30 in the morning, you're going to get up, you're going to set your candle, you're going to get your tea, you're going to get your altar, you're going to get your vision board, you're going to sit with it, you're going to journal, or you're just going to look at it and you're just going to sit there for 15 minutes. And you're not sitting there looking at the clock and twiddling your thumbs. Although maybe in the beginning you are. You're going to say whatever it is that you created as your intention. And you're going to, maybe sit in meditation, maybe sit and communicate with a vision board, maybe sit and journal, whatever comes through. But there's going to be a practice to it, a ritual practice to it. So you can create the ritual practice that goes with it. But it is about showing up at the same time all the time. And so other rituals that can happen, so that is more of an intentional ritual practice to bring something into your life, to create something. And there are different elements depending on what it is you're creating, right? So the altar can bring together different elements, whether it be stones or herbs or maybe like, an archetype of some sort of deity that you work with or that works with the intention that you're setting. There are different ways, and we're going to talk about that more when we create our altars in the group. So, but there are different types of ritual practices. So, I also am an artist, and I have a lot of rituals because doing sacred rituals also helps you to be really present and clear in showing up in your life, right? So it is also about getting in touch with you and what your energy is and showing up for yourself, right? So it's, again, goes back to this exchange. And so when I think about rituals, I think about sacred space. I think about what are the things that I intentionally do for myself every day. And so I get up and I clean my house and I do a pranayama practice. I write my journal and I go for a walk outside. In the winter, it's not as long as it is when it's warmer outside, I'm going to say, but I try to be out there for at least 30 minutes outside in nature. But, you could choose one thing. A wonderful ritual is setting your space is always key for ritual practice. But a beautiful ritual is to wake up and do morning pages every day. So I know this is something that a lot of people have done. Julia Cameron, oh my God, I might be messing up her name. But it's called The Artist's Way, her book that everybody has been using for eons and eons. But one of the things in her book is that every day you wake up and you write just whatever comes to mind for, I believe, 15 minutes. And so that becomes the sacred ritual practice is, I think she also says walking. So those are my practices too. I think that those are just how we set our day can really change how our days go. So I would suggest that you start looking at what type of sacred rituals can you create for yourself, both in the morning and at night. Sometimes night is easier for some people and sometimes morning is easier, but I believe do something in the morning when you first wake up and do something at night right before you go to bed, and try to create a ritual practice that feels very sacred to you. Okay. So I also often say to people, when I go to yoga, I don't like to share where I do yoga because it is a sacred space for me. And I have created that. I wanted a place that I could go that was not my home, that I felt connected to, and that was just a place that I didn't have to be a certain person or work or feel pulled on in my energy. So I needed a place to go that was a sacred space. I also have places in my city, or I live in New York City. So I have certain places in the city that I go to when I need to fill up my energy or when I'm feeling very low. And those are my sacred spaces. So we can look at ritual as the things that we do over time with specific intention. And we can also look at it as sacred spaces, right? So because sacred spaces are also where we would do our rituals. And ritual could be just, the times when we're giving back to ourselves, but it also is the times where we're creating. And so even if you're asking to manifest something, you are in the act of creating something. And so you need to set your space. Okay, so I think I've talked a lot, and I don't think you need to listen to me anymore. I'm just going to check and see anything else that I want to say here, but I think the rest of it we are going to cover in our group when we meet live. Um, okay, so just to recap, um, intention is something that is a very conscious, clear, focused idea or concept, right? It is when you type into Google, you are very specific about what you're asking for. So you want to think about an intention similar to that. A ritual is something that you do consistently over time with a sacred intention, right? It's the practice in the spaces that we're creating to create energy, to co-create with the universe. It should feel very special, very sacred. Um, so yeah, so that's it. So when we meet for our live group, we're going to create, alter, and we are also, I have another activity for us to do, and we're going to talk about casting a circle, what that means and how we would do that. And we're going to maybe work with the vision board so you can bring those with you. And then we're going to breathe. We're going to do some three-part breath work, lying down, listening to music and our voice to really call in and feel what it feels like to be in a circle, a intentionally cast sacred circle, and breathe with that. So look forward to that. And if you're not already signed up for the elemental coaching, it starts on January 7th at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. It is virtual. It is on Zoom. It's 2 hours, so it's 12:30 to 2:30. And like I said, it's going to be a little bit of brief recap. And then moving into talking about, this creation and what would go into creating an altar, or what would be going into creating a circle, and what, how to use that. So you can bring your questions. I'm happy to answer them. And we will also talk about how this applies on a personal level to us, and really moving through the emotions and how you can apply this to a day-to-day practice, not just when you're doing a manifestation practice. So bring those questions, and I look forward to seeing you there. So if you are not registered and you want to register, you do get a recording. Although it is always better to show up live, you will get a recording, so you can sign up. I have a link in underneath the video to my website, and you can just sign up for that, or you can go to my Instagram, which is also Andreamitchellwellness. And there is something in the Linktree bio that you can just click on. So, or you can email me, Andreamitchellwellness@gmail.com, and I can register you there. So hope to see you. And next month in February, we will be doing another group, but we're going to stick with this one for January. So I look forward to seeing you and answering all your questions soon.